Corporate Responsibility with Impact is brought to you by Grandin Toy, a company that embraces social responsibility across all facets of its business. Welcome to Corporate Responsibility with Impact. Today we're going to be talking about an area which I think is one of the most important areas of corporate responsibility, which is how to measure the social outcomes of corporate responsibility programs. And we're going to be looking at it from three really interesting perspectives. One, the academic perspective, and we have Rod Lowen, who is the Executive Director of the Michael Lee Chin Institute for Corporate Citizenship at the Rotman School of Business. We're going to be speaking with Kaz Flynn, who's the Vice President of Corporate Social Responsibility at Scotiabank, and James Temple, who's the Director of Corporate Responsibility and the PricewaterhouseCoopers Canada Foundation.
I think fundamentally when you look at corporate responsibility, it's about integrating and mitigating risk and the right decision-making processes when reflecting on that triple bottom line, social, environmental, and economic. I believe it's about helping our clients understand what matters and why it matters, from recruiting and retaining top talent and how our corporate responsibility platform integrates with on-campus initiatives and the expectations of millennials, to going all the way down to what are we measuring in terms of what our people are doing in the community, whether it be creating meals for those less fortunate or planting aquatic life down at the Leslie Street Spit. But going beyond that and saying, well, what did it actually do for these organizations or communities, and what was the spillover impact?
Organizations spend very little money to derive most of their value from their corporate responsibility activities because it's in the smart, right things that they need to do and that really matter. It doesn't mean they can take the money away from everything else they do. They still have to, to make a lot of people happy, especially the larger the scope of the organization. There's still a lot of constituents that you have to ensure you're doing, appropriate levels of work with. But I think the magic is in that final, say, 20%. If you can eke out a budget and an activity to do that, that's where you're likely to grow.
We reflect society's expectation today, and we do it in a way in which is authentic and helps the individual choose the experience they want to achieve. So it's not about the business telling the individual what to do. It's about learning and collaborating and putting ourselves in each other's shoes to understand what matters and why it matters to help continually develop the program itself.
We haven't really talked too much about what we do and what motivates us. And I think it's time for Scotiabank to do that. And I think that we've got that turning point now. And I think it would be great, too, as a strategy, to put more of our, put more employees, out there to talk about their stories. There's research that shows, for instance, that employee loyalty is reinforced by being a good corporate citizen. We've got, customers want to do business more and more with companies that are good corporate citizens. There's all kinds of things like that. On the employee side, for instance, I would say keep it really simple. Make sure you have employee engagement, because nothing succeeds unless your employees are passionate about it.
We've engaged our employees at our foundation through a new program called the Not-for-Profit Apprentice Program. So it's not to go in and offer pro bono consulting services, but to actually whiteboard and brainstorm an organizational challenge with the charity and say, we have incredibly passionate people who are really smart, real go-getters. They want to help you with an issue just to get your head around it, and they have a higher probability of volunteering on an ongoing basis and to utilize our suite of programs at the Foundation to really create the tangible social impacts you hope to achieve. There's baseline things we need to be thinking about, disclosing Scope 1, 2, and 3 carbon emissions, if possible, and depending on the nature of our business. What are our people doing in the community? How are we in compliance with standard practices expected on our business? But also doing that in a transparent way and not being afraid as corporations or firms to say it's not always going to be great news. But the purpose of a good corporate responsibility document is to highlight good, transparent business practices
businesses are fraught with fuzzy and messy problems. Businesses are fraught with things that can't be quantified. And if we overemphasize the things that are quantifiable, it is really difficult to solve some of these messier challenges. There's political risk. There are opportunities to be found in understanding consumers by segmenting them in different ways or understanding what their particular needs are. These are measurable to only some degree. And there are people who are really good at it, and they can take those and build business cases around why companies should be spending more time and attention on those kinds of opportunities than they would otherwise.
Well, there's fantastic frameworks out there to work with in terms of standardized reporting. I point to ISO 26000, the Global Reporting Initiative, as great ways to help companies benchmark and understand within, more broadly, corporate responsibility as we know it today, and what reporting can do.
We're working to do that, and we've got some focus groups actually coming up over the next couple of months, some in Vancouver, some in Toronto, and some in Halifax. And again, we're bringing together government, academics, local customers, not-for-profits, or maybe NGOs and others, and bringing them all into a room and having a session where we're getting their impressions. And then what they do is they report everything that they're doing to us. And there's a lot of it that's done officially, and then some we just anecdotally they tell us, but we say officially we need to know what you're doing because we want to make sure that we communicate that. And so we include that in our corporate social responsibility report. We set a goal of a 5-year plan to be able to report globally. So this is our year 3. So we're getting there. But that, for me, would be the ultimate for that. You pick up this report and it's just everything is assumed to be global.
By embedding the right values and working towards the same mission, there's much literature that would indicate that, yes, we are working towards increasing the value for the shareholder. So I would challenge people to think critically about how they look at this issue and take a bit of a chance if you don't believe, and think about new frameworks to work with and how to tie it to your business strategy.
Here's a summary of what we've learned about measuring CSR outcomes. First, select the indicators that are most relevant to your business. Next, look for practical ways of assessing impact that leverage existing internal measurement systems. And finally, ensure transparency and authenticity by reporting the results to your employees, to your customers, and to your local communities. At Impakt, we are pioneers, thought leaders, and advisors in the field of corporate responsibility and community investment. Visit our website at www.impactcorp.com to find out ways that you can better align your corporation's business and social outcomes.
With the new Grandin toy, you'll find the right products, services, and solutions to make your business better, including a wide selection of office furniture and the expertise to help you create more inspired workspaces. And furniture is just the beginning. Talk to a business solutions advisor for all your office needs.